Harold Higdon was hunting in Medicine Bow National Forest, Wyoming. Taking aim and firing at an elk, something strange happened. His bullet seemed to move in slow motion. As he went to retrieve the bullet, a sudden strange feeling came over him. Turning around, he saw a humanoid over 6 feet tall, which he described as having a black jumpsuit, a wide belt decorated with a 6-pointed star, and an emblem of yellow. It had straight hair standing out from his head, no eyebrows, bow legs, and long arms ending with rod-like appendages instead of hands. The being asked him if he was hungry and gave him 4 pills, telling him if he ate one, he wouldn't be hungry for 4 days. The humanoid then pointed to him, and in an instant he found himself encased in a transparent device and wearing a helmet. 2 more humanoids appeared, carrying the elk Higdon had previously hunted, which were now stiff and unnaturally frozen state. He was told he was going to their home planet, some 163,000 light years away, and arrived there in a flash. And on the planet, he said there were many buildings that resembled the Seattle Space Needle, and the planet's sun was of intense heat. His next memory was of being back in Medicine Bow Park, with 2.5 hours having elapsed, with no idea where it went. He staggered in a deranged state, unable to find his truck, eventually finding it 3 miles away. He radioed the sheriff, who found him at midnight, exhausted and frantic, shouting, "They took my elk." And after being taken to the local hospital examined, they found all his vitamin levels were miraculously high, and TB marks he had on his lungs had vanished. Higdon's wife and 2 other people in the area saw green and red lights in the sky on the night of his abduction. Do you believe in alien abductions? The movie Fire in the Sky. That was such an excellent movie about alien abduction. It was really, really good. And to this day, they all pass their polygraph tests. And they still believe, the ones that are alive still believe that's exactly what happened. It could happen. Why not? I mean, why shouldn't we believe something like that couldn't happen? We have a lot of technology that has been ongoing for years. Do you really think we developed that technology, or was it an idea from something otherworldly? Think about it. Okay. This one's called the Salisbury Hill Case. Do you believe in crop circles? Just wondering. Crop circles. I'm not too sure about that. Although it would take you quite a while to accomplish that. So, don't know. I don't know. So, what do you think? Okay, this one's called the Salisbury Hill Case, and this was July of 2009. An off-duty police sergeant was driving along the A4 motorway during the early hours of the morning. At around 5 a.m., while passing Salisbury Hill, an area long renowned for its Druid precedent, UFO sightings, and mystical attributes, he noticed an exceptionally tall man standing in a field, examining a recently made crop circle. He noticed they had shining blonde hair and were dressed in white coveralls with their hoods down, which reminded him of forensic detectives. Intrigued by such a bizarre spectacle, the sergeant parked his car and approached the men. From a distance of 400 yards, he shouted at them, but his attempts fell on deaf ears and he was ignored. Upon entering the field, however, the 3 men became aware of his presence and simultaneously turned towards him before making off at a miraculous speed, heading southward away from the hill. He followed them for a few seconds, but realized he was no match for their pace and watched in awe as they strode off in superhuman strides. After glancing away for a second, the sergeant looked back in the men's direction, and they were completely gone. They ran faster than any man I have ever seen. I'm no slouch, but they were moving so fast. I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, they were gone, he told Andrew Russell, the UFO investigator he had chosen to communicate, so he could remain anonymous. Walking back to his car, he felt something like static electricity echoing throughout the field. The crops began to ripple and sway in time with a crackle that was pulsing all around him, and he developed a massive headache. He then panicked and got scared, of course. The noise was still around, but I got an uneasy feeling and headed for the car. For the rest of the day, I had a pounding headache and couldn't shift. He contacted his colleagues at Wiltshire Police, and they released this statement. The police officer was apparently off duty when this happened, so we have no comment to make because it is a personal, not a police matter. On the night following the sighting, residents of the area reported seeing an unmarked helicopter hovering for 3 hours over the field where the encounter took place, a sequence that has followed UFO and crop circle reports in the area with increasing frequency. The sergeant continues to remain anonymous. So these are not, like 40 years ago type things. These are recent. 2009, 2010, 2015. So, I can't attribute to, people, seeing things. In this day and age, and, I think we're intelligent. We really are. We're not stupid. We're not going to make stuff up, I don't think. Why would we? So, think what you will. Think what you will. So, there you go. Lot of UFO sightings and things like that. I was going to bring up just recently, especially over the weekend, there was a marathon of Stargate SG-1 out. That is one of my favorite sci-fi shows ever. So, do you think something like a Stargate could exist? I just found it fascinating, how they could, travel through that to another world. And I really love that show. At some point, we're going to be discussing, please watch James Cameron's about science fiction. It's going to be a totally cool special he's going to have on. And he'll have guests like, Patrick Swayze, Arnold, there's a few other guests. Of course, George Lucas, and that we'll be discussing them in the near future. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron. And how their sci-fi, fascination started. So we're going to be exploring that. We're going to be exploring the sci-fi shows such as Battlestar, Stargate SG-1. How about Quantum Leap? Quantum Theory. I mean, come on. So we'll be discussing all this in the near future. Next week, I want to discuss UFOs and USOs. I was talking to Ike earlier about that. Unidentified submersible objects. It's an interesting theory that some believe that they are kind of based in the ocean, deep in the ocean. And we don't have the technology to get down that far to check in the deeper depths of the ocean. So, it should be interesting. So, Ike, if you're listening, I hope you really join in next week because you've been studying this for years, and I'd really like your take on this. Do you believe they're aliens? Are they aliens, or what is going on? There has been many, many, many stories, sightings, abductions. And the thing about it is that they're really consistent with each other. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to next week, Ike. The stories over the years have not changed that much. People from the 50s and people from now, the stories are so alike, and they don't, it's my favorite. It is my favorite. Stargate SG-1. You gotta love it. My favorite was The Loop. I thought that was freaking hilarious. Do you remember that, Stephen? The Loop? They're demons, the fallen ones. We're going to look into that, and I'm going to look into that a little more, and we'll have a good discussion on that, I think. Yeah, my favorite episode, I think, of Stargate SG-1 was The Loop, where Richard Dean Anderson is replaying the days over and over and over again. It was freaking hilarious. I loved it. Yeah, the fallen ones. That it's real possible. So we're going to have a lively discussion next week on that, I think. It's going to be really cool. Yeah, Stargate is my favorite. And they had a marathon over the weekend, Steve, and it was great. What's your favorite episode in that? Okay. We had the Outer Limits show. We had the Twilight Zone. Was this just from imagination? It could be. It could well be. I think they could be among us for all we know. Yeah, years ago, definitely. There's, too much secrecy still involved with all that stuff, I think. I don't know. I think yeah, that one wasn't it great? That was my favorite episode, I think. The Loop. I am definitely a Stargate fan. Oh, look at Star Trek for that matter. The exploration of space. There were so many TV shows on this. This just, yeah, that was my favorite. I love that episode. He's right. It's him and his Fruit Loops. He got real tired of those. But anyway, riding his bike through there, and he could do anything he wanted and nothing would happen. It was just great. Yeah, it's real possible that aliens came here years ago. I think they've actually had some kind of proof of that, but, of course, it's all hush-hush. I don't think we came up with a lot of this technology on our own. I really don't. That's just me, though. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I love Stargate. That is like, I look forward to that every week, and they just had a big marathon over the weekend, so I couldn't watch a lot of it because I had to work, but I watched what I could. They were great. Oh, yeah, it was the one where I saw the one, remember the one where Daniel ascended? Oh my God, I cried at that one. Anyway, what do you think of and what do you think of the space program now? Um, I love it. I am, huh? Yeah. Am I really? That's really strange. I absolutely love that show. That was my favorite. I don't think I missed too many of them. You're pretty cool too, Stephen. I know people think it's strange I play video games too, so there you go. Anyway, I think that's funny. But anyway, yeah, Stargate. I love Stargate. God, I love that show. Teal'c. Um, oh, I hated when they ended that show. Um, no. You think Project Blue Book, Project Bluebeam? I no, it wasn't fake. For shame to think that. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, the Stargate movies are good too. Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, I do too. Like I said, El Rey channel has them on in the afternoons, like 12 to 2 or something. So yeah, I do too. Love that show. Absolutely love Stargate. But yeah, that the stories have been so consistent for years, for decades now. There's got, this is just my personal opinion, but I believe there was something. Sure they are. You think